Hi, this is Ted with Extra Pro. I have a new product called Patch Player. Patch Player runs on Android operating system 4.2 and higher. It is a application controller that we call Patch Player, and then there's an application player program that we put on Android TV player boxes or on any kind of Android tablet or Android phone. You can then take the Android TV boxes and then plug them into LCD monitors, video projectors, or anything else that has composite HDMI or optical outputs. Everything can be controlled via wireless. So to control this whole system right here, we're just using one router, one wireless router. It'll run in 2.4 or 5.8 gigahertz. And then if you need an absolutely secure connection, you can go through the Ethernet. It's all plug and play. So as long as you're on the same network, the controllers will see the players, and if there's something within the network preventing that, you can then put in the IP code of the controller to get that connection, or you can go to the player and put in the code of the controller and get control of the controller. So I'm going to start operating. Right now I have two systems working off the same router. So I have a tablet that's controlling these right here. So I'll select all players, and you can see that I'm controlling this half, which includes these 5 screens, these 4 tablets, and then these 3 smaller tablets. In Patch Player, you can then take all your monitors, your tablets, and then start creating zones. And the zones could either reference their location, be it in the lobby or in the disco floor or in the restaurant area, or a zone is really just a saved playlist. So if you wanted these 3 to be on a zone, you can do that, and then you can create a new zone which has the same 3, except on one zone the playlist is maybe morning content, and on the other zone it's maybe evening content. And then as soon as you hit send, it'll activate. So right now I have all players selected, and I can control the content of all players. So right now I want to control this one, so I'll see what number it is. I'll hit ID. It tells me it's player 6. Then I can go to zone, and if I want to patch it to 6, I just press 6. A menu pops up, I press patch, and now it's patched, and now I can individually control that screen. If I want to individually control these 2 other screens, or maybe put them in the same zone, I just have to hit identify. I see it's 68FF. So while I'm on that zone, I hit patch and O4EA, and I hit patch, and now they're all on the same zone, and these 3 are in the same zone together. So that's the basics of how Patch Player works, and you can then save all your information from your controller by exporting a file. The way everything works is the content is stored on the patch players, and then there's duplicate content on your controller. It works on Android operating system. This right here is a ViewSonic touchscreen with Android 4.2 built in. I'm going to now start Patch Player from scratch. So I start Patch Player, and this is what the UI looks like when it first starts up. It already knows that it's looking for its router, and the router I've named Patch Player. And right now the first thing it's asking for is the router. So Patch Player control is divided into 4 sections. There's the router and zone section. There's the available content, the playlists for the zones, and all the available players. So right now I'm in the router, the Patch Player router, and it shows that I have 5 players connected. If I hit the ID button, then on the screen you'll see the IDs show up. If I wanted to add a new player, I would just need the IP, which shows up on the player when you just left click. And I can press add and type in the IP and put it in. Or I can just have auto connect, and once it sees it on the network, it'll automatically show up just like these did. So if I hit all players, it means that I'm controlling all the players right now, but I have no content to play. So there's a directory called patch player on the root directory, and that's where you store all your content. And now I have to scan for that content, and now it's scanning the content to bring me up the thumbnails and all the information about that content so I can play it, and all the content shows up. So now on all players, I'll just touch one of the pieces of content and it'll play that video right here on the player, and that's because I'm in preview mode. On the available content, there's two modes. There's preview mode, and then there's send mode. So if I press 1, it sends it to those monitors. If I want to create a content list, I can then scroll through the available content, and I can press plus, plus, and plus on different content. As soon as I hit send, it'll now loop through those pieces of content. So this playlist is associated with the all players zone. If I now want to create new zones, I just hit the plus button on zones. So I'll create 3 new zones, and I'll create actually 2 more. So I have 1-to-1 on those 5 monitors. So I touch a zone, and then I just touch a player. So I want 1-to-1, so I'll say player 1 to zone 1, patch. Then I touch 2, and I say on zone 2, player 2, patch. And then you'll see zone 1 is patched to 1, zone 2 is patched to 2. Now I'll touch 3, and then I'll patch 3, touch 4, patch 4, touch 5, and patch 5. And now I have a unique zone list for each player. And now I'll say on 1 I want 1 to play, on 2, 2, on 3, on 3, play 3, on 4, play 4, and on 5, we play 5. So now you'll see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos playing on the 5 screens. But let's say I wanted the 2 outside screens, which are in a different location, on its own zone. So I'll then create a zone 6, and I'll touch 1, and I'll say patch, and I'll touch 5, and I'll say patch. And now I'm in control of it. And now you'll see 1 and 5 are in control from that zone. And I can create its own list, and I'll hit send, which will override the other list that's playing. Whatever is the latest list you send it will be the list that it'll loop through. The other feature on the playlist is there's an add and a purge mode. If you have a long list in your playlist, but you just want to start over, you just press purge, you touch a new piece of content, it starts your list all over again, you go back to add, and then you can add a new piece of content, hit send, and now it'll loop through those 2 pieces of content. And that's pretty much Patch Player, other than saving by hitting export, pick your patch directory, press plus, type in the name of your file, press OK, and now it's saved so you can import it into a different controller. So right now I'm running 2 systems. I'm running this monitor touchscreen Android setup on those 5 screens over there. And this handheld tablet, I'm running these 11 screens, 12 screens right here. If I want to, and both systems are running off the same router. It's just that this has one server IP, that those are all talking to this server IP, and then this has a different server IP, and all those are configured to talk to this server IP. So if I touch all players, I'm then in control of these. If I touch all players over here, you'll see I'm in control of those. This is an Android TV box that can be controlled through the Patch Player controller, which is a software application on Android operating system. This is the hardware Patch Player box that you would attach to a projector or monitors or anything with a HDMI out, optical out, or composite. The player has a Ethernet port. It's got power, a power switch, and a laptop lock. It's got mounting holes, so you can either mount it to a wall or mount it to the back of a screen or a monitor. It's got ventilation, so it stays very cool. It's got 3 USB ports that can handle 2 terabytes, and then on board it's got 16 gigabytes. Now we're going to show you the operating system of Patch Player. So this is the box, and then once you first boot up the box, this is the UI that you'll see, which is an Android standard UI. I'll go to the App Center, and I'm going to control 3 kinds of apps. So I'm going to control normally my file browser, my Patch Player, and my settings. So now I'll go into settings, and I go into Wi-Fi, and I see that I'm already connected to the Patch Player router, and pretty much everybody knows how to get onto a router. You just click on it, put in your code, and then you're on. Then on the file browser, you'll see that I have a directory called Patch, which we're renaming to Patch Player, and this is where all your content is then stored. So these are all the MP4 videos that we're going to be playing through the Patch Player. So I'll back out, and now I'll just start Patch Player. And first it starts scanning content, which it does very quickly, and we'll see if we're in control of this by pressing ID on the controller, and I can see instantly I'm already in control. So it's recognizing it as 6, so I'll just hit send from all players, and you'll see that I'm already able to control the content. So once it's connected to the monitor, there's a UI for the player. So right now the player is running, and this is the UI. And the UI tells you what the player's IP is, and if you put new content on it, it gives you a refresh option to make your content be able to be called up. It's got a manual connect, so on the controller on the bottom right it shows you what your IP should be at, and the control now is at 1.2, 192.168.1.2. And if I'm at the player and I want to patch it to a zone, I could just then say patch to zone, and then all the zones show up, and then I can click one of the zones I want to be on. So I'll say 6 right now, but if I wanted to say 6 and 8 and 10, it'll put me on all those zones. And then if you're having issues or trying to debug your network, you can then let me close the zone. You can then toggle on the debug info, and if there's any issues of control, it'll tell you all your warnings and tell you why you're not connecting. And then the last, it tells you what version you're on, because you have to make sure that your controller and your player are on the same version. Right now, it works on any local area network or any bridged network system. So if you had an infrastructure like a convention center or a very large company space, you could then control your monitors all over your building over the bridge network. And then coming very soon, within the next 60 days, we'll have an internet version, and then you'll be able to control from anywhere to anywhere. So that's the Patch Player. Thank you.